Good evening, good evening, good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, the usual disclaimers. If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article. Share on all your social media. Also included is NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC ever actually does see through with their threat. Trigger warning 1. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use the headphones. Trigger warning 2. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised. We are moving on, folks, on to the new proposed ban circa 2023 into 2024, opening up another panel. Oh, because we couldn't name the device in the first one. I'm tired, folks. I'm so tired. So we are going to get into it. We're going to go through this document. We're going to see what changes were made. And of course, we're going to keep tracking it in the meanwhile and see if the JRC doesn't do what they always do, which is, when nothing else works, sue. Sue when even there's no grounds, because for some reason, our federal DC Circuit Court just seems to always fall in their favor. All right, so here we go. As you can see here, all the staff. We're going to start with the executive summary for this first video, and then I got to put this on the cord over there, so we're going to switch places after this video here. This proposed rule, if finalized, would reestablish the ban of electrical stimulation devices, ESDs, for self-injurious or aggressive behavior, following the agency's now clarified authority to ban devices intended for human use for specific intended uses. Oh, you did some homework. Excellent. Excellent. The FDA has determined that these devices present an unreasonable and substantial risk of illness or injury that cannot be corrected or eliminated by labeling or a change in labeling. Obviously, if you can't determine that by looking at all the evidence, in particular the ER documents and literal video surveillance footage that clearly shows us otherwise, you are dumber than a box of rocks. It should not be allowed to operate machinery, or you are the most corrupt, evil son of a bitch on planet Earth. Just say. The evidence has evidence. I've never seen a case like this before where all the evidence is on the side of survivors, and yet still here we are. It's overwhelming. The proposed rule, if finalized, would apply to both new devices and devices already in distribution and use. Unquantified benefits would include reduction in adverse effects from using ESDs on individuals, as well as benefits to society in the terms of protecting vulnerable populations. In other words, unlike the most folks in the medical model, we're going to actually say that these are human beings and deserve to have their civil and human rights respected. Right? Right? And with the JRC, getting rid of the GED device is literally not the end of it. We already know about all their other psychotic practices. This is literally the first stepping stone we've been on for over several decades. Insane, isn't it? What other school, residential type of facility like this could get away with the deaths of 6 kids and still continue to be able to operate with absolute impunity? It is insane. It is beyond insane. And the only place where you'll really find an equivalent is with these troubled teen centers. They are a chip right off the block of the JRC. If you don't believe me, look at Paris Hilton's testimony and the testimony of the Agape boys. All right? Don't take my word for it. We like receipts on this channel. We don't expect you to just even take the words of survivors. Those survivors have receipts. Simple. We quantify costs for the case in which the affected individuals might move to another facility and costs to the affected entities to read and understand the rule. We estimate the annualized costs over 10 years would range from $0.0 million to $9.17 million, for a primary estimate of $4.59 billion at both a 7% and a 3% discount rate. So we're representing the proposed rule. We're doing this again with clarification, and we have had our authority in regards to rule in this matter confirmed. Confirmed, folks. JRC, you hear that? Their authority in regards to ruling on this matter have been confirmed. Deal with it. Right? It's kind of what's going on here. They're also addressing the fact that labeling is not going to change any of those risks because they're physical and psychological risks. And there's no way properly labeling those devices is going to, in any way, shape, or form, bring down those risks. Right? For the love of God. It's kind of all right here, isn't it? We're going to go in. There's probably going to be a table of contents. Yes, of course. We're going to do a little bit into the introduction before I have to run and get this onto the charger real quick. We have examined the impacts of the proposed rule under Executive Order 12866, Executive Order 13563, Executive Order 14094, the Regulatory Flexibility Act, and the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act of 1995. In fact, that was all the receipts that we read on the last few videos. Remember when I told you we were going through that for a reason? Here you go. Executive Orders 12866, 13563, and 14094 direct us to assess all benefits, costs, and transfers of available regulatory alternatives, and when regulation is necessary, to select regulatory approaches that maximize met benefits, including potential economic, environmental, public health, and safety, and other advantages. Distributive impacts and equity. Rules are significant under Executive Order 12866, Section 3F1, as amended by the Executive Order 14094, if they have an annual effect on the economy of $200 million or more, adjusted every 3 years by the Administrator of the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, for changes in the gross domestic product or adversity affect in a material way the economy, a sector of the economy, productivity, competition, jobs, environment, public health or safety, or state, local, territorial, or tribal governments or communities. OIRA has determined that this proposed rule is not a significant regulatory action under Executive Order 12866, Section 3F1. So, it's saying that this is not really going to have a huge impact economically in regards to the state of Massachusetts or even the JRC itself. That's one of the reasons why we covered that in the last few videos. We're going to read through it all, and then we'll get into the meat of it here. But before we do that, we're going to close out. But this makes it point blank, doesn't it? The FDA has confirmed with the rest of the federal government that they do indeed have the authority to be able to rule a ban on this device. So it's going to be interesting to see how the JRC intends to fight this time, won't it? It's a hell of a rabbit hole, folks. We're just barely making a dent, and we're going to go ahead and close on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. You know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you in a few minutes when I put this in the chair and get it on its charger. Bye-bye, everyone.